Welcome. My name is Kelly Anderson, and this is Fanimated, the animation fan podcast where every week we get a chance to geek out about our favorite animated media. Today, Kate Callan and I are here to discuss one of our favorite classic Disney films, Cinderella. Released in 1950, Cinderella is the 12th Disney animated feature film and still charms audiences today. If you've been living under a rock or if you've been locked up in the attic and haven't seen the film, this is your spoiler warning. I hope you enjoy our insights into fairy tales, animation history, and pure nostalgia as we dive into Cinderella this episode. So let's get started and let's get animated. Hey Kate, how are you?
I'm good. How are you, Kelly?
Good, I'm glad you're here.
Thanks, me too. Can I say something really quick?
Yeah.
So at this point, it's only been you've only released 2 episodes.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
But I have to say, if there's anyone who's listening who doesn't know us personally, we lived together for about 1.5 years. And this podcast is essentially everything that I would get from Kelly coming home on a daily basis. I would walk in the door and Kelly be like, I have to tell you about this animated show that I'm watching. And then I would just glaze over while she tells me all the details about a show I've never seen before. So it's just it's a joy to listen to. I'm having fun.
Oh,
so.
Good. Yeah, that's the fate of any roommate I've ever had and any future roommate I will ever have is they have to listen to me talk about animation.
But it's awesome because you're so passionate about it and so excited. I love it.
Thank you. Thank you.
Yeah.
I live alone now, so I just tell my lamp and my walls.
I'm sure they appreciate it.
My empty walls get to hear about animation. Are you ready to talk about Cinderella?
Yeah.
Oh, good.
I'm always ready to talk about Disney princesses.
I know. Do you have a favorite Disney princess?
I do. It's not Cinderella, it's Ariel.
Ariel.
Mm-hmm. Cinderella's
Yes.
tied for third with Belle. I would say it's Ariel, Rapunzel, Cinderella, and Belle.
Perfect. That's a really good
ranking.
I can never decide, who's my favorite. I really love Sleeping Beauty as a movie, but
Yeah.
Aurora isn't necessarily my favorite Disney princess.
She literally only has 16 minutes
yeah.
of screen time, and her name is the title of the film, which is very similar to this movie, I realized.
Yes, because most of it is about a cat.
Most of it is a cat and mouse, which I feel like watching this, the writers, in trying to flesh out the story to make it because it's a relatively short movie. It's only 1 hour and 15 minutes.
Yeah, it's pretty short.
But I feel like the writers were just sitting going, well, Cinderella is a cat and mouse chase. Let's just make the rest of the movie literally a cat and mouse chase.
Yes.
That's essentially what is happening.
That's exactly
anytime that Cinderella's not on screen.
Yeah.
That's one of the things I don't like about this movie. I feel like we shouldn't start out talking about
That's okay.
the things I don't like about this movie, because there's so many things I do like about this movie.
Yeah, you can go for it and say
There's just too much filler though. There's too much focus on the cat and mice stuff. There's too much focus on the king and the duke. And I realize it's a children's movie, and you've got to have those sequences that, capture kids' attention. But me, as an adult, doesn't want any of that. I just want, the human interaction.
Right. I will say, as a child, I loved the cat and mouse
Yes,
stuff. And
absolutely. I loved it as a kid.
That's probably why I liked it when I was younger. And even now, the Duke and the King are kind of my favorite.
They are very funny. What did I take in my... I have notes because I'm a nerd.
You know what? I'm going to check, but I'm pretty sure they're voiced by the same person.
Are they? I never knew that. You need to, fact check that, please.
Jack and Gus are both voiced by James McDonald.
Oh, okay.
And then the King and the Grand Duke are both voiced by Louis Van Rooten. And I'm really impressed by that because they're both so different.
Yeah,
and it's
that's amazing. I never knew that.
Yeah, because it's back in the day when it doesn't matter if they don't just take a bunch of famous people. They're taking people who are genuinely good at changing their voices.
Well, clearly, So some history on this. Mm-hmm. For me personally.
Yeah.
I can say with like probably 90% certainty that I have seen this movie more than any other movie I've ever seen. Wow. This was the first movie I ever owned on VHS. Mm-hmm. We have videotape of me as a 3-year-old getting it for my birthday and screaming, I got Cinderella! And my family teases me for that all the time. Like, I think I got the newer version, the 2015 version, which is awesome. I love that version. But I got it a couple years ago for Christmas, and my mom was like, say the thing! And I was like, no, Mom, please don't make me. Like, so, I mean, this movie has been a part of my life. And honestly, as a 3-year-old, I don't even know how I knew about Cinderella or what it was. I don't know if I had like a storybook or something.
Yeah.
But I was just so excited that I think I thought it was a book in retrospect. I was like, oh, because I had no idea what a VHS tape was.
VHS tapes could look like books.
Like the little kid, if you didn't know what it was.
Because it's like that thick, it opens up.
Yeah. But on the topic of favorite random characters in this movie, again, having seen this movie a million times, I have a new favorite character, which is the buck-toothed footman, who is clearly designed after Tweedledee and Tweedledum from Alice in Wonderland. They look the exact same.
They were in production at the same time.
They were, yeah. Uh-huh.
So that would make sense.
I did my research on this movie.
I did too.
Like, did you know that this movie was started development the same year Snow White came out? In 1938, so it was in production for like 12 years.
And Walt Disney made a Laugh-O-Gram cartoon based on Cinderella in 1922. So
it was earlier than that.
So he was like always thinking about Cinderella as a possibility.
And another thing I read, you have Disney like taking over the world to thank for, you have this movie to thank for that, because it was pretty much like if this movie was not a financial success, which it was. They would have gone under completely.
Yeah. They were $4 million in the hole at the time. Oh, no. And here's the thing. That equates to almost $42 million in today's standards.
Holy cow.
In today's currency.
That's quite a lot.
So Cinderella basically saved Disney.
Yeah. I know. I mean, you look at that number nowadays on a piece of paper and you're like, well, 3 million. I mean, it's a lot. But like for the amount of money that movies are churning out now for like millions and millions of dollars, you kind of like take for granted. I always forget about like fluctuation with currency.
Yeah.
So that's a lot.
It's a lot. It's a lot. And yeah, obviously I think World War II had something to do with their debt, and they weren't able to be in the British market as much as they were previously. But yeah, I also read it was like a bit of a race between if Alice in Wonderland or Cinderella would finish first,
because they were released like really close. I don't remember when was it 1951 Alice in Wonderland came out.
Wow, so you actually have documentation of the first time that the first time that you watched Cinderella, maybe, or at least have it.
Yeah,
which is crazy because I literally have no clue when was the first time I saw this movie, but it's like far enough back where it's like, it was sometime between birth and when I gained memories.
Well, and like I can kind of remember, kind of back to that time. It's very distinct in my mind. This is all personal information that nobody cares about, but we moved around the time I was like 5 or 6, and so I have very distinct memories from when I was really little about being in my first house that I grew up in. So a lot of those memories of like things that I watched, particularly Disney movies, because that was all that was in rotation in my house. I have a lot of early memories of watching those movies tied with living there, so I can kind of pinpoint when certain things were introduced into my life. Like the main ones that were always in rotation for me was like Cinderella, Beauty and the Beast, Aladdin. Little Mermaid came along later, so those were kind of the staples in my house. And of course, my mom has stories about like there was a span of a month where my brother and I only watched The Jungle Book. But it was like multiple times a day.
Yeah,
so,
I think I own
my mom has like my mom cannot understand how I can watch things over and over and over again. She'll watch a movie once, be like, oh, that was a good movie, and then not watch it again for 20 years.
I can't understand that.
And I'm just like, if I love something, I just need to, like, feed into that love and experience it. There's so many movies or like TV shows where I finish it and I'm like, I need to see this again. I need to, like, and I haven't really done that as an adult quite as much. I think back when video stores were a thing. Yes. I would do that a lot just because you only had like a 24-hour window to have the movie before you had to return it. And so if I loved something, like I remember the first time I saw Hunchback of Notre Dame, which is my all-time favorite Disney movie. So if you ever want to talk about that, I am ready and willing. There's a lot to dig into that movie too. So, yes. But I think I was older when I saw that movie for the first time. And so I just remember watching it and being just gobsmacked by this movie and then needing to watch it again immediately because I was just so floored by how amazing it was.
Yeah, I feel like everyone has those movies that they watched over and over and over again. Like, my younger brother, he watched Finding Nemo, like, on repeat.
Yeah. But that is such a good one to watch on repeat, though,
I know.
if you're gonna do anything.
I had it, like, memorized in elementary school because of that. And yeah, for me, I think it was Lion King 2. That was the one that I watched.
See, that one was not... See, I had Lion King growing up, and so that was kind of in that rotation there as well. For sure. But I, like, Lion King 2, I can't even remember the last time I watched that movie. I've meant to watch it, because sometimes I think about it, I'm like, oh, I should rewatch that movie, and then I never do, so...
Yeah, you know. So when you were younger, why do you think you liked it so much, Cinderella?
So, okay, this is gonna sound weird. Not weird, but it's gonna, like... And I don't mean... Me saying this, I loved Cinderella because I looked like Cinderella. Which I think, like, in regards to representation, it's wonderful that we have this giant spectrum of Disney princesses that fall under the... And so it feels a little stupid to say, oh, I was a blonde-haired, blue-eyed little girl who saw Cinderella with bangs and, like, the kind of curled under hair and saw myself in that movie. It sounds kind of dumb to use that phrase because, you know, we want to use it in, like, along with representation. Now we have Pocahontas and Tiana and, you know, and Moana, and we're getting all this, like, beautiful representation of these different characters that girls can watch and go, oh, that's me. So it sounds dumb to say, oh, that's me, but it was.
It doesn't sound dumb because it's just, like, another affirmation, like, saying that, yes, representation does matter. Yeah. Because we as little girls saw blonde-haired princesses and were like, that looks like me. Yeah. I mean...
Like, and I mean, the amount of times that I, you know, in, like, talking with friends kind of throughout growing up, girls that I knew who were like, oh, I love Belle because I'm a brunette and I saw myself in her. The same thing kind of applies, but it just feels like, in today's day and age, it feels a little, like...
Well,
you're a white girl with blonde, you know, like...
Right, but I think, again, that just goes to show that how important it is and how important it is then to have representation for everyone and how much it does still hurt when there isn't. Yeah. Like, I was just reading a blog post today about, because all the Disney princesses are back in Wreck-It Ralph 2.
Yes, I'm so excited.
I'm so excited too.
Like, I love Wreck-It Ralph, but this just makes me more excited. I know. Also, I am a really big fan of Colleen Ballinger, who plays Miranda Sings, and Miranda Sings is in the movie.
No way.
She has, like, a cameo. She just released a thing on social media saying...
Oh my gosh, I wonder how that's gonna work.
She is like, guys, I'm in Wreck-It Ralph! And there's a picture of her going, like, making, like, the Miranda face.
Oh my gosh, that's great.
So that just makes me want to go
Oh my gosh, I can't wait to see it.
Because of the Disney princesses.
Yeah. But, someone was posting about it, and you look at all the princesses, because you have... the ones that are represented there, you have, like, Mulan, and you have Moana, and you have Tiana, and you have all these wonderful princesses, but this blog post writer was Latino and was like, we still don't have a prominent Disney princess who is Latina, and because we have Elena of Avalor, and that is a beautiful show and really well done. The music's really great, and the animation and the story is really sweet. But
she's not like in the prominent lineup. Yeah,
she isn't someone who everyone like knows of, and like and so it's still like it's good that we have Elena, but there's still not a prominent Disney princess.
Yeah, get on that, Disney. We want to see that.
Yeah. So I agree. I definitely saw myself in Cinderella when I was growing up.
Yeah.
And we need more good representation for all those little girls who don't have someone to look
Also,
look
I
at.
no longer have blonde hair, nor do I have blue eyes.
Yeah, your eyes are definitely more green now. They're darker.
The blonde roots are there, but it's not apparent.
You look better with
I look more like Merida now for people's reference.
Yeah, she's got that beautiful curly hair.
Anyways.
Anyway. Yes. Yeah, I remember even, I don't know if this is relevant, but in my hometown, like a lot of hometowns in the Midwest, I'd assume, even here in Minnesota, you know, there are like little festivals and like some high school girls can be like ambassadors for their town, for their little festival or whatever.
We had that.
We had that, and we had to, if you wanted to be an ambassador, we called them like the queen and her court.
Yeah.
You had to do a pageant, and I got, voted to be in the pageant, and you had 3 minutes on stage to do a thing, and so I, of course, you know who I am, I talked about Disney princesses. Yeah. And I sang A Dream. I sang A Dream is a Wish Your Heart Makes from Cinderella because it was just one of the songs that I really love and that, you know, I grew up with. So
can I tell a quick side story here for people? We went to Disneyland together, which was honestly the best day of my life. And I'm so embarrassed by this. I made us stand in line for like 45 minutes to meet 3 Disney princesses, and everyone was like, should we like go do something else? And I was like, no. And then we like get in the room and meet the Disney princesses, and I'm like reverted back to a 5-year-old. I'm like, oh my god, there's a beautiful picture of me like staring at Mulan, just like I have no idea what's happening. But we went in and met Cinderella, and Kelly like sang a little bit because she was in character, and she asked us like where we were from, because why are these like 6 20-year-olds coming to meet these Disney princesses? And we were like, oh, we're from a choir. And she was like, oh, can you sing a little bit for me? And I just went, oh. And Kelly just burst out in song. It was beautiful. And I'm sure like the poor actress was like, who the freak? Who are these like weirdos who are in a choir and meeting Cinderella?
Oh my gosh.
I hope we made her day.
I'm glad you said it was beautiful. I always thought, wow, I'm such a dork. Why did I sing in front of all these people in line?
I look back on that moment and go, why didn't I sing?
Oh.
Why didn't I sing for Cinderella?
And I'm just like, no, when I think back, I'm like, oh man, that actor must have just been like, my shift is almost over.
I know, right?
Gosh, just be quiet.
But for just a minute, I was a 5-year-old again, meeting the Disney princess.
I agree. I'm thankful that you made us wait in line because it was actually super fun.
It was.
So we met Aurora, Mulan, right? No.
Mulan, Aurora, and
Cinderella. That's the 3, right?
Mm-hmm. Yeah. My mom had told me that she would give me $10 or $20 every time I got a picture with a Disney princess, and I've still yet to see that money. Just kidding. She's paid for a ton of things, so I think she's plus my existence. Yeah. So I think she's cool.
And we saw Rapunzel, but she had her own separate line. Yeah. And so we were like, well, we can get 3 princesses with this line. Yeah.
I also saw Belle as soon as we walked in the park, and I was like, this is so magical.
It's a magical place.
So that we should probably talk about this movie.
Yeah. So what were your thoughts coming back to it now as an adult? Obviously, you've watched it a lot.
Yeah, I've watched it a lot, and I've like continued to watch it over the years. This particular viewing, I kind of tried to pay attention to some of the smaller details that I had never noticed. or and without kind of trying to pay attention, because I've seen it so much, sometimes it just has turned into something that I just turn on and I pay attention to other things because it's so familiar and I know it so well.
Right.
And I also just kind of wanted to kind of watch it and maybe take a little bit of a deeper dive into some of the themes that are in the movie. I know, especially with the classic Disney princess movies, there's a lot of debate over, you know, is, by today's standards, by kind of modern day standards, like, what is it a good thing to have young girls watch?
Yes, like, I don't remember, I was like in an airport or something, and there was a little girl, and I don't remember why, but we were talking with the parents, and they were like, oh yeah, we don't let her watch Disney princess movies. Like, they just don't, because they're like, you know, they view them as something that could be, you know, putting their daughter in a box, I guess.
Yeah. And I think, especially with Snow White and Cinderella and Sleeping Beauty in particular, because those are the three kind of earliest, there's a lot of debate over whether, you know, because they're kind of passive, because their whole thing is just, like, waiting for a prince to come into their lives.
Yeah.
You know, they're not really doing anything kind of proactive in their lives. And I have argument against that. I think there are really, and granted, I'm biased, I think there are really good points to take away from these movies. And another thing that I take into consideration when I watch the movies, especially in watching Cinderella, you kind of have to think about the time that it came out in. Yes. You know, Snow White came out in 1938. Cinderella came out in 1950. I think Sleeping Beauty was like 1956-ish. I can't remember. It was in the 50s, though, still. But, you know, we live in a modern society where it's all about taking action, you know?
Yeah.
Your actions matter. They're important. You can't just sit on your butt and wait for something to happen. If you want something to happen, you have to do it yourself.
Yes.
That's what our culture is all about today. And so viewing it through that lens, I can totally see the validity of people saying, well, this is showing young girls that you can just sit and wait and someone else will take the reins of your life, which is not true. I don't think it was true then either. I just think that society standards were so much different. Like, it's crazy to think how far we've come in, 70 years?
Yeah.
And how far we're gonna go in the next 70?
Hopefully.
Fingers crossed. I really hope. It's kind of looking bleak right now, guys.
We gotta take action, but not be passive.
My kind of takeaway, even still, with this movie in particular, yes, she's not really proactively doing anything to change the course of her life, but as a woman in, like, 1800s France, is this when this movie is? I know it's in France.
Yes.
I don't know when, but, like, there wasn't anything she could do.
Right.
She's, like, what, 18, I think? 18 or 19, maybe?
Probably. That's usually the...
Her dad has been dead for, like, 10 years. Property didn't go to women back then. Like, even if she was like, screw you guys, I'm leaving,
she would just be poor somewhere else.
She would just be homeless.
Yeah.
Like, what else was she supposed to do?
Yeah.
But, you know, and this is her family. They're not family by blood, but it's her family. You know, I don't know if, you know, she is just, as the character, I don't know if she's just hoping, like, oh, well, you know, maybe she's a people pleaser. I can totally relate to that. I mean, I don't know if she's just like, well, if I work really hard and if I do everything that my stepmother wants me to, then she'll love me. I think, have you ever seen the movie Ever After?
Yes.
I love that. That is, if you want a Cinderella movie where the heroine is proactive and where she takes control of her own life, watch that movie. Because, I mean, it was made in 98, so there's still, like, some things that are like, meh. But
it's so well done.
And that she kind of plays into that in that movie. Like, they kind of go over that in that movie too, where she's like, "Well, you're the only family I've ever known. You know, like I wanted love from someone. I needed you to love me, and weren't going to give me that.
And I mean, the stepfamily is, especially the stepmother, is very manipulative and abusive. So it's kind of that cycle of like, you know, and this time watching through it too, I was like, you know, Cinderella is still a little naive about it.
She is. Oh, absolutely.
So yeah.
I mean, I think any like teenager would be naive about it, you know?
Yeah.
I mean, presumably she's about like 10 or 11 when her father dies, according to the animation, I'm guessing.
Yeah.
that's her age, but like, you know, that's all she's known. She's been in isolation for like 8 to 10 years. No wonder she talks to freaking mice and birds. Those are the only people who will talk to her.
Yeah, you were saying how, Cinderella and like Snow White are definitely more passive princesses. Same with Aurora, and like, that can be kind of problematic because you want to give a message of you have to take action and like, you know, take over your own life. And in their many versions of development for this film and over the years, at one point, Maurice Raff, I can't pronounce his last name, he was working on the story for it, like around or after World War II. And this is a quote from him. My thinking was you can't have somebody who comes in and changes everything for you. You can't be delivered it on a platter. You've got to earn it. So in my version, the fairy godmother said, "It's okay till midnight, but from then on it's up to you." I made her earn it, and what she had to do to achieve it was to rebel against her stepmother and stepsisters, to stop being a slave in her own home. So I had a scene where they're ordering her around and she throws the stuff back at them. She revolts, so they lock her up in the attic. I don't think anyone took my idea very seriously.
Yeah.
So it's like he even had this idea of making Cinderella, and in his version, she was more rebellious and taking action. And, you know, the other people in the room and were like, no.
Yeah.
So you can tell that times have changed because you've got, you know, Moana, who is just taking all the action.
Yeah.
And
not even in I'm just gonna keep bringing up this movie because I love it so much. Ever After, there's a scene where she, like, I think she comes back from being with the prince, and she's still in bed, and they come and wake her up, and she is like, "You have 2 hands, make your breakfast yourself." And then she gets, like, whipped for it.
Yeah.
Which then enacts compassion from one of the sisters.
Right.
But that's, like, the same thing. It's like,
I love that.
She finally is, like, having the courage to kind of rebel against that, which I
there are so many good versions of Cinderella.
There are. Even the newer version, honestly.
The remake?
The live action one. I love Lily James. She's so beautiful.
And Kate Blanchett.
Oh my gosh, she's the queen of acting. I love it.
know.
But they really didn't change the story that much, which is, like, they make her less passive, which is great.
Yes.
Another thing I love that they develop the relationship between the two of them more.
Definitely. You get to see more of the prince than you do in the animated version.
In my research on this movie, they had a very similar storyline for the prince. They actually were going to flesh out his storyline and make him more than a one-dimensional character, but then they ended up scrapping it in favor of, you know, some of the other stuff in the movie.
The cat and the mouse.
Cat and the mouse stuff. But they took the kind of basis for that and used that in the remake in 2015. So a lot of his storyline was actually created for this version.
That's awesome.
Which is awesome.
I didn't know that.
Yeah.
That is
I wish
so cool.
they had done that.
Originally, yeah.
But and I feel like I remember, you know, when they kind of made the announcements that they were doing the live action Cinderella, you know, I was excited about it because obviously I love this movie. I remember reading things about they were, like, intending to make it more of, like, an action movie, like, making her a lot more aggressive than she is. But
I'm making a confused face right now.
But they kept it so close. They kept it very close to the original, but they just, you know, kind of made it a little more modern.
I was like, oh, the remake, oh, they're making a remake, blah, blah. But then I went to see it with a friend, and I was like, oh my gosh, this is the best movie I've ever seen.
Oh, it's so good.
It's nostalgic. It's the perfect remake. I feel like what they've done so far with the remake, Cinderella is still the best of the remakes because it just encompasses the original quality and yet adds so much more to it, and it is just and okay, I am such a glitter and pretty dress girl, and
the blue dress. Oh my gosh. So gorgeous. That's all I want for my life is just to have that. Like, that's why I just want to play a Disney princess so badly. It's just so I can have that moment of being like, I'm a freaking princess.
I'm a princess. Yes, that's what it is. It's like, okay, and continue making those, you know, fierce warrior princesses. But
Absolutely.
Can we also give them a dress once in a while?
Can we, like... We can have the best of both worlds, right? We can have
you can.
proactive and pretty.
You can be feminine.
You can be anything you want
be awesome
as a woman.
And a warrior and like strong and powerful and great. And that dress makes me cry. There's a behind the scenes of the remake that Cate Blanchett, there's a quote from her that's like, when they started dancing, I started to cry. And I was like, yeah, everyone did.
Yeah. It was so beautiful. Oh my goodness. I wrote, one thing I wrote down about, in regards to Cinderella and the prince, I wrote, I'd like to imagine when Cinderella and the prince meet, you know when you meet someone and you're just like, I like you, you're fascinating, I want to like know everything about you. Like, even if it's not like a romantic relationship, there's people in your life that you're like, oh, you're so interesting, I just want to be your friend.
Yes.
Like, I just like to imagine that their connection is so strong that Cinderella just like word vomits everything that she never got the chance to say in 10 years.
Oh my gosh, though. She probably did.
Like, I know that I'm watching the cartoon and they're not saying anything, they're just like smiling and looking into each other's eyes, but like, I like to imagine that their connection is just immediate and that's why they have to be together.
I approve of this headcanon because I feel like, you would just, I mean, she hasn't really talked to anyone freely for so long.
Like, don't you think...
Besides her animal friends and...
Yeah, and don't you think, if you meet... And she doesn't know that he's the prince.
I know,
She makes that, which I think is really funny. Like, that just, I feel like that adds a whole other layer to her character.
Yeah.
Of just like her sweetness and her naivete. She's like, that guy was so nice. I really like him a lot. Just being totally ignorant of the fact that she was just at the royal ball and he's like the one that all the women are looking at in the room. But then, if you kind of think about that, if she's the only one who's on his radar, clearly.
Right.
So that, I just think that makes their connection so much more magical.
Yeah. I always think it's more sweet when they like, in more than just Cinderella, but I've definitely read it in other stories too, where, the titles or the identities are not fully revealed until later. And, I'm a sucker for that because I think it's so cute when it's like, she doesn't know he's the prince. And so it's because it's
she's not attracted to him or
because
doesn't like him because of his position in life.
Yeah, she enjoys the time that they spend together.
Yeah. And same thing with him to her. Like, he doesn't know that she's been, in servitude for the last how many years. They're on equal playing fields here. And that just, I just feel like that makes their connection really special. The whole sequence of her, coming down the stairs after the mice have made her dress, the whole sequence of the sisters, tearing up the dress, that is, to me, that's, the scariest scene in the whole movie.
I would agree, 100%.
Because, she has been through however many years of emotional abuse by this family, but this is the first time we see, physical abuse enacted on her. And I started thinking about it because I was thinking about the scene with the fairy godmother and she's outside crying on the bench and, what does she say? She says, there's no hope left. There's nothing left to live for. And I'm like, girl, that's a little extreme. But if you think about it, she's, this has been building up. This emotional abuse has been building up for years and years and years. And the physical abuse is the thing that breaks her. Like, that is her breaking point. The way that this character is presented, I feel like she's very sure of herself. She may not know what she wants because she's still kind of a child, but she knows, you know, she has faith in something. And to be able to endure all that abuse over a really long period of time, like, that wears on you, clearly. And I think this moment, as silly as it is that they're just, like, tearing up her dress, it's a scary moment, and she's done. She's out. Like, there's nothing, like, all of her hopes and dreams have shattered. I don't know, like, I'm putting so much assumptions into an animated character.
But what do you think I do all day?
But who knows what she was hoping to find at the ball? She was really excited, clearly. I don't necessarily think it was only just because she was excited about meeting a man. Who even knows if that was on her radar?
I mean, it's just a matter of, you know, being accepted into the community, accepted into the family almost.
Yeah.
Just
that's a very good point. Being accepted into the family. I think going to this ball with the family, I think that is, you know, also a way for her to be like, hey, I belong here too.
Yes.
Maybe give me something.
And the only reason she could have stayed this long is that she believes there's a possibility for her to have love from the family or have acceptance from them. And she doesn't get it.
And with the stepsisters too in that scene, like, I don't think they probably even realize, like, the detriment that they're doing in that scene. I think they probably just think it's funny. Like, oh, you know, I mean, like, they're genuinely upset. They wouldn't have, like, done it otherwise, but, like, it's learned behavior.
Oh, absolutely. It's, you know, the mother. It's
the mother is the one who's egging them on, and it's just so scary that she's just, like, very quietly standing there, and she's like, let's go, girls. Like, because she knew what would happen. Like, because she's the manipulative head of this abusive relationship going on, because she knows how her daughters are going to react. She knows how Cinderella is going to, like, she knows all of these things, and so she manipulates them. So when she sees, oh, Cinderella's coming, so she does the thing where, you know, she's like, oh, what pretty beads. Yeah. But it's to point them out so that Drusilla, is that her name, right? Drusilla? Well, she's like, those are mine beads. Yeah. And tears them away and whatever. And this scene makes me so incredibly just uncomfortable and mad. And this is when I'm really, really, really like, wow, Cinderella. I don't know. With my own experiences, it's kind of like, Cinderella, you know better. Like, don't go downstairs. Yeah. Like, don't even go downstairs. Yeah. And I wish that she would have been like, okay, I have a dress. Let me sneak out and find a way. Yeah. Like, don't even go near them. And so this is where I'm really like, wow, Cinderella is really naive. She really, really, really still believes that she can be a part of this family. And that hurts so bad when you know that it's never going to happen the way she wants it to or thinks it possibly could. Yeah. And no, it tears me apart too. This scene is like so real. And that's, you know, like, that's the reason for the fairy godmother showing up, is because she's at a point where she can't do it by herself. She just feels so completely broken as a person that this was the right time. It wasn't like after just a couple years. It wasn't, you know, it wasn't just like, this had to be the moment that she comes, because there's nothing else that she can possibly do on her own. Like, she needs that helping hand. Yeah. I freaking love the fairy godmother so much. She is so, she's so fun. She's so fun. I kind of, like, forget about Bibbidi Bobbidi Boo and just what, a ball, no pun intended, that song is. Oh, she's so funny. And it's so beautifully animated, too. Oh, another thing, gorgeous. Because this is an animation podcast. Yeah, that is what this is. You know, I really tried to pay attention to some of the things in the background that were happening that I wouldn't normally. I think it's very interesting watching it in comparison to modern day animation, because obviously they can get away with a lot more detail. the backgrounds are just so, they're kind of plain. They have a little bit of detail. They're not super, like, crazy detailed, but they're still so beautiful. Like, just kind of the way the watercolors are.
Yeah.
They had a lot of really, I don't know if you noticed this watching it, because I feel like you're more in tuned to kind of animation styles. There's a lot of, like, light blocking in this film. A lot of use of, like, light and shadow.
Yes,
and I wonder,
lots of shadow.
if that is symbolism.
Well,
we're getting, I don't know.
No, how do you interpret it? Because, I mean, everything, I feel like I'm going to say this a lot on this podcast, because I think I've said it several times already, but animation takes a really long time, and everything they do is usually thought about a lot. So, if you read anything into it, you know, like, there's probably a reason. So what's your...
I don't even know why. It just kind of caught my eye this viewing. I don't know if I can put words to it or, you know, a theory behind it, but I just noticed, like, a lot of use of the light and the shadows.
Yeah.
And there's a lot of, like, lingering shots on shadows. And I don't... Like I said, I can't really put a theory behind it or a name to why it's there. It was just something that caught my eye.
Definitely. The one thing artistically that I was just kept in mind this viewing of it is because is the ink and paint department, because I've been learning more about the ink and paint department in those early days, and because it was very, very segregated by gender.
Okay.
And men were animators.
Yes.
And women who had the same artistic skills were put in the ink and paint department.
Interesting.
And they would be, you know, tracing what the animators drew with the ink, and then also painting everything. I think it's like 400,000 different individual cells they had to, like, paint for a feature-length film.
That's crazy.
It is. It's crazy. And they all this handcrafted work, and, you know, like, they just had hundreds of colors, and so that's what I was kind of looking at this time, and there is a lot of just, like, really, really beautiful colors going on.
Oh, absolutely. And it's interesting because again, having watched this movie my whole life, having it on VHS, watching the DVD or the Blu-ray or whatever that I have, watching it in, like, high definition is very eye-opening for the animation, because it's kind of like, okay, you can tell that this is a lot older animation style. Like, things look much choppier than they do now.
Yeah.
Which, there's definitely a beauty in that, too. It's kind of like, okay, you can kind of... It's almost like watching Toy Story and, like, seeing how far... the technology has come.
Yeah, absolutely.
You know, like, I mean, obviously Toy Story is an amazing movie and still holds up, but you compare it to whatever recently came out with the CGI animation, you're like, nah, it's getting there. But it's like the same thing with this movie, you know? It's like, well, they were still, you know, technology was developing.
Exactly,
they were, fun fact about a piece of technology that doesn't have to do with animation in this movie, but... I think it's the best song in the movie, to be honest, is the Sing Sweet Nightingale. It's such a cool song. It was one of the first instances of using that layering, because the technology was pretty much, like, brand new.
Oh, you're talking about audio.
Yeah.
So the audio for Sweet Nightingale.
Yeah.
Oh, so what did they do?
The use of, like, having Eileen Woods. I love her voice so much.
I know.
It's so beautiful. With the, like, layering the harmonies, the multiple harmonies, kind of along with the bubbles in that moment when you see everything and you can kind of hear the multiple things going on. That really wasn't ever, like, done before. Yeah. I think I read there was another person who was credited with doing it for the first time. I think Eileen Woods incorrectly said that it was the first time that it had ever been done in this movie, but that was wrong. Okay. But, I mean, still,
one of the first times that they were doing that. Wow, that is awesome.
And, like, you listen to pop songs now, and that's just done all the time.
Yeah, I was reading, too, that the voice of Lucifer, she was like, oh, you want me to play the cat? Well, I can do anything, so yeah.
Yeah.
So she plays it. But really, Lucifer doesn't have too many squeals and squeaks or whatever. There's But yeah, a lot of screen time for Lucifer.
Yeah.
I wonder...
Too much screen time for Lucifer.
I wonder if Lucifer is on screen more than Cinderella.
I bet he is.
I wouldn't be surprised.
Let's be real.
Oh, man.
Like, I do love the mice. I think they're so cute.
They're so sweet.
Also, going back to the scene with the dress tearing, I secretly wish that there was... It's not a secret anymore. We're talking about it. I really wish that there was a deleted scene with the mice going... We spent all day on that dress, and you just tore it to bits in 3 seconds. Yeah. I'm so mad. Maybe not necessarily enacting revenge, or maybe just like a little funny. But I just want to hear them complain about how all of their hard work was ruined.
Exactly.
Can we just talk about how the dress scene is so freaking magical?
When the transformation. The dress?
The
transformation ball gown. Turning her into,
every time I see that scene, it just brings me back, and I'm a little 5-year-old. I'm like, ah!
Yeah, who doesn't want a transformation scene?
It's so beautifully, like, it's so beautifully animated. I love it. And then she's just, like, looking at her dress in the water, and it's like,
and she's like, again, just, like, dreaming and whatever.
Yeah, I love it.
That's one of the reasons why, the fairy godmother is so funny is because she like forgets that she needs to like give her a dress. She's preoccupied.
Also, the poor horse.
Yeah.
She's like, we need horses, and he's like, oh, pick me, and then she doesn't. He's a footman.
I mean, isn't that better than having to be the horse that drags it? I mean, at the end, though, at the very end, when they got married and they're getting used to
He's the one in the lead.
He's the one in the lead, and he looks so happy.
He's so happy.
And then the dog is running by, so it's like they have their happy ever after too.
Yeah. Oh, that's so cute. I love it.
Yeah. You don't really get to see what actually happens to the step family, do you?
No. This is not the Grimm's brother version that you are very familiar with.
I was just in a production of, well, not just, but this year I was in a production of Into the Woods, and I played one of the stepsisters. So.
Does that give you any insight into the stepsisters or not? It's a very different version, though.
It's a different version, but I would say when I was in the show, I was just, my motivation was I want the affirmation. Honestly, it's the same as Cinderella, I guess. Like, we felt like the stepsisters, they had the same goal of wanting the affirmation of the stepmother.
Yeah, that makes a lot of sense. Yeah.
But they had the advantage of having her favor. So, we would just try to one-up each other all the time to be better than the other and to have the stepmother like us. So when we were like, because in the Into the Woods version, the stepsisters have their, their toe and their heel cut off or whatever. So they do have like an almost happy ever after, and then they're blind. Then they're blind. But yeah, it is very different, and I kind of like the gold slipper more than the glass slipper idea. But
why?
I don't know. I think it's just like my personal I think gold is prettier.
I always thought the glass slipper was really cool, especially just because it sounds like so
almost impossible. Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, you can be team glass slipper, and I'll be team gold slipper.
That's great. I like that. Since when were the ring wraiths a part of Cinderella?
What? When?
When she runs away from the ball with the riders who are going after her. I'm like, when did this turn into the ring wraiths? They're so dark and scary.
I know.
They're just black figures with red capes.
That whole sequence is incredibly frightening, but the actual situation is not that crazy. Like, you know what I mean? It's not, it's... Because the Duke is just wanting to talk to her because, A, she wants her to stay because he doesn't want to
lose his job.
And B, it's like, you can stay. I don't know. It's not like we're going to go after her situation.
Yeah, no. And from her perspective, I'm sure it's, a little frightening.
That's true.
And that's why it's painted in that way.
She doesn't know what's going on. She doesn't want them chasing her. And, she's probably afraid of them seeing her the way she was before. Yeah. And I wonder what would have happened if she would have stayed and de-transformed. Like, I feel that both the prince and the Duke would be totally okay with it.
Yeah.
And would just be like, great,
cool.
You're staying here.
Yeah. So it was only about like halfway through the movie that I really started paying attention to this and keeping in mind the context of when this movie came out and women's roles in 1950. I made note of a couple of very like sexist things
about having grandchildren.
Yeah. I wrote down, King hopes his son finds a suitable wife and mother. This is in quotes.
Yeah.
No mention of a suitable queen or ruler.
That's 100% true.
He just wants his son to find a baby maker so that he can have an heir as soon as possible.
Yeah. I definitely found fault with that.
I also wrote down, this is what I wrote. I said, leave the sewing to the women, oh brother.
Yes, I saw that too, and I was like, yeah, what? Oh, dear.
I just, like, I had to make note
But then you're looking, well, they were clearly separating lines even within the animation industry.
Yes.
Like, ink and paint is women's work.
Yes.
Women were not even allowed to go anywhere near the animation. Like, literally not in the building. They could not go near them. Obviously, they had interaction with the animators because, like, a lot of them got married. But...
In my face is like...
That's how... I'm pretty sure that's how Walt found his wife.
Oh, really? I've never done any research about Walt Disney himself. I just know that he created a mouse, and that created an empire.
And then ruined all of the copyright laws forever.
Yeah, pretty much.
So yeah, Lillian was working as a secretary in ink and paint when she met Walt.
Interesting.
So, you know.
During the ball, I never understood why the family doesn't recognize her. I've never understood that in any version of this story. It makes zero sense. Just, even if she were to be depicted as, like Pigpen from the Peanuts, just being, like, surrounded in a cloud of dirt and dust, they would still recognize her. I don't know, is that supposed to be, like, part of the magic of it all? That she is just made to be, like... You were nodding and smiling, and I feel like you have something to say about this.
I do. Well, I will say that in this version, they are looking behind lots of people.
That's true.
And also because I was just reading another blog post today about all the issues about Cinderella, and they were defending them. And that is number one issue. And this blogger said... Because royal balls are basically the candlelit equivalent of clubbing in terms of both lighting and sheer numbers. Even if they were right next to her, they probably wouldn't get a good look, especially since it would have started after sundown.
Yes.
Also, she was the help. They probably hadn't looked at her in years.
Those are some very good points. I love that they compare it to clubbing.
Yeah.
Because if you really think about it, it's so true.
And I just had to use those words because they're... Yeah, this person basically said it in the best way possible.
I love it.
So
you should send me a link to that blog. I would love to read that.
For sure. She has lots of... Well, he or she. I didn't look who wrote this, but has a lot of really great great comments on all of this. Oh, even, like, what we were talking about, how, like... she goes to the ball to find a man or whatever. This is what they said.
Yeah.
As a daughter of a widower, Cinderella would have been running the household finances and acting as hostess if he hadn't remarried. Mm-hmm. By demoting Cinderella to a servant, her stepmother essentially guaranteed that she would never escape the house, because the only way for her to escape and maintain her status was to marry well, and no one was going to marry a servant. Mm-hmm. It was essentially the historical equivalent of your mom stealing your college acceptance letters out of the mailbox.
Which happens in a Cinderella story.
Yeah!
I've seen so many different versions of this story.
I know! And we didn't even talk about the Rodgers and Hammerstein Cinderella.
No, and which I also... We both know that we really love Cinderella. We both really want to be in this musical.
I really want to play the fairy godmother in the Rodgers and Hammerstein Cinderella.
Yes.
Really bad. I want to sing Impossible.
I would so love to play Cinderella, but if not, my current roommate and I are really campaigning really hard so that we can play the Stepsisters together, because that would be amazing.
You guys would be amazing.
It would be so fun. But talking about the Rodgers and Hammerstein version... Fun theater nerd fact for you.
Kate is our residential theater nerd. Here you are.
Yes. So most people know at least one song from this musical. Mm-hmm. It's kind of surprising if you haven't heard at least like 10 minutes ago or, you know, one of the really famous songs.
Go look it up on YouTube, everybody.
But it wasn't on Broadway ever until 2012, I think.
Pretty recently.
I'm pretty sure 2012.
Because it was
the year that's in my mind. But again, they kind of, in this version, they reworked a lot of things. They added material that wasn't originally part, because it was originally a TV movie with Julie Andrews. They've remade it several times with Brandy. Yes.
Okay, that's 90s the one.
90s kids are all like, oh my gosh, I love this!
The Brandy Cinderella is probably the Cinderella I watched most as a child.
Yes, and Whitney Houston. We cannot forget about the glorious Whitney Houston.
So good.
My mom grew up on the Leslie Ann Warren one from the 60s or 70s. Another fun fact. We did a production of State Fair like
a year
and a half ago. And in that, they took a bunch of songs from the Rodgers and Hammerstein catalog, but they were kind of like lesser known songs from other less popular musicals that people don't really know. In this case, these songs were never used in any other musical. They took a lot of the common musical threads and took chunks of lyrics or added lyrics, took, you know, musical motifs that would work within the score to kind of expand it and make it better. But again, bringing it into the modern age, they have this like political through line through this version where a lot of Cinderella's motivation isn't necessarily I want to get to the prince or get next to the prince because I want to marry him. Her motivation is like he needs to know what's happening in this kingdom, and she feels like if I can just get a moment to talk to him, then I can explain, you know, what he needs to be doing in his preparation to become king and how he can better help the people. Yeah. Which, again, takes Cinderella out of that passive quality and kind of makes her a little more proactive in what she's doing. But still maintaining, you know, her kindness and her sweetness and, you know, not making her just like, I don't know.
Right.
But
yeah, because, I mean, one of the reasons I've always loved Cinderella so much is that despite all of this horrible stuff that's going on, she does still maintain her kindness. And at the very beginning, I wrote it down so I wouldn't forget because it's basically encompasses like how I feel about Cinderella. The narrator says, "And yet, through it all, Cinderella remained ever gentle and kind." Mm-hmm. And like the remake is all about, what is it? Be kind and be courageous, or whatever that is.
Yes, that's the kind and courageous thing. Mm-hmm. Going back to the 2015 movie, I think the most powerful thing in that whole movie is the fact that at the very end, she says to the stepmother that she forgives her.
Yeah.
The first time I saw that made me cry because that's never been uttered, I don't think, in any version of Cinderella before that. Because, like, you know, in some of the versions, like in Ever After or even Cinderella Story, Hilary Duff fans, what up?
Yeah.
You know, the stepmother and stepsisters get their comeuppance, and it's often played for laughs. You know, it's like, well, they got what was coming to them eventually. Mm-hmm. But the fact that, like, nothing really happens to the stepmother in either Disney version, you know, you never really see what becomes of them.
Right.
But the fact that, you know, she chooses, as she's choosing to leave the home, she turns back and says, "I forgive you."
It's so
That's
powerful.
So incredibly powerful. It's just like, it gives me chills thinking about
does.
it. I love it. Oh, I did take note of how long Cinderella was at the ball because I watched like 10 minutes and then I rewound to find what time the clock said.
Oh, wait, how long? How long is she at the ball?
I'm such a freaking nerd.
No.
The step family left around 8 o'clock. Presuming that it was about a half hour at the very least before Cinderella got there. Yeah. She was there for about 3.5 hours. You're welcome.
Wow. That's all it took.
I know.
That's all it took.
Sometimes that's all it takes.
Also, how many times does Cinderella lose her shoe on the stairs?
Oh, I also wrote that down, which was a conundrum of mine. It was if she is the only girl in the kingdom with this particular shoe size and her feet are supposedly so tiny, then why do her shoes keep falling off? Maybe she needs to get a better shoe person. What do they call them? Cobbler. Maybe she needs to find a better cobbler to fit her tiny, tiny feet.
Okay, multiple things on that. I had just noticed, like, at the beginning when Lucifer's trying to get Gus out of the teacup that she does drop her shoe when she's going up. And I was like, oh my gosh, that's so funny. I never noticed. And of course at the end when she gets married, because it's funny. But that same blogger, I'm going back and I'm going to tell you what she said because, oh my gosh. This blogger says, prior to industrialization, most garments were made by hand to fit the buyer's measurements, including shoes. It's why poor people only had one pair. It's a lot smarter when you consider that they would have fit her like a glove. So they were made to order shoes. Like they didn't mass manufacture shoe sizes. So her shoe size was Cinderella shoe size. And then they also argue that if the shoe fit perfectly, why did it fall off? And they just said, I don't know about you guys, but I prefer my shoes to be removable. I prefer my shoes to be removable too.
Yeah.
Also, I mean, did they care if Cinderella had shoes that fit her? Maybe
they probably
didn't.
I was just thinking about that as you were reading that. Like, she probably got her stepsister's hand-me-downs, which explains the falling off of the shoe in the beginning.
Yeah.
But, like, yeah. I prefer my shoes to be removable. Also, if you're clumsy.
Yeah. I mean,
that's happened to me before. I've lost my shoes multiple times in the middle of theater shows, in the middle of choir concerts.
Yes. Same to all the above. Cinderella is a good movie.
It is a wonderful movie. And granted, I say all this tainted with nostalgia.
Yeah, that's very true.
You can feel free to disagree with me on many points of this movie.
Yeah, okay, I just wanted to say, when I was doing some of my research, apparently the American Film Institute has Cinderella on their top 10 list of animated feature films.
Yes.
But I take that with a major grain of salt because The Prince of Egypt is not on that list, and I'm sorry, but that is a lie.
Wait, when did this list come out?
I don't know.
That is a good point. That is a great movie.
Yeah. No, it must have come out later, though, because Cinderella is number 9 behind Shrek. So.
Okay. Unpopular opinion. Shrek is so vastly overrated. It's not even funny. Do I enjoy watching it? Absolutely. Is it the best animated movie? No. There's a lot of silence happening right now.
Okay. This isn't...
That's why I said unpopular opinion.
No, you can have your opinion, obviously.
It's been 17 years and I still can't wrap my brain around the fact that Monsters, Inc. didn't win the Oscar and Shrek did. But, like,
Monsters, Inc. is really good.
Monsters, Inc. is my favorite Pixar movie, but here's, like, I know you're team DreamWorks. Like,
I am.
And I'm obviously team everything is Disney all the time.
Yeah.
Do I branch out? Of course I do, but
So
the best.
Yeah, I will say Shrek was probably the most watched movie in my household.
I believe that. I actually didn't see that movie until, like, a few years later. Mm-hmm. Because I grew up in a household where my parents were pretty strict when we were little about what we watched, and they did not want to invite that potty humor in our house.
That's totally valid, because, funny story, my dad has retold this so many times that I know it. When it was happening, I didn't remember, like, when it was happening, but we had a family friend over, and they had kids, and we were like, let's watch a movie, and we had Shrek, and they were like, we haven't seen that, and we're like, oh my gosh, you have to watch Shrek, so we put that in the VHS tape and whatever, and my dad was like, so when he tells the story, he's like, all the parents are outside around the campfire, and we're inside watching a movie, and they were talking about movies and things, and the other family was like, oh yeah, we don't let our kids watch Shrek. So anyways, they're saying that they don't let them watch this movie, and Dad had just, like, he knew that we were gonna watch Shrek, yeah. And so he goes inside, and he's, like, turning it off, and we're like, what? And the other, yeah, my dad is great.
Shout out to Kelly's dad.
Yeah. Go Tom. But yeah, the other parents were not happy.
Yeah.
Yikes.
Well,
No.
but if he didn't know, that's not his fault, nor your fault.
And I will say, to defend Shrek to parents who were concerned, a lot of the humor I did not understand as a child. And watching it as an adult, I'm like, wow, I understand why some parents would be concerned.
Yeah.
But it's great. When Gus and Jack are trying to get the key up the stairs,
That goes on for too long.
Where are the birds? Like, hello?
That is such a good point. No, but I again, watching that sequence, I was just like, oh, I can't handle this. It's just too much. Like, it makes me feel bad when he starts physically sweating. Like, how heavy is this key? But also, stop. We get that it's a long way up the stairs. We need to focus on something else. Let's focus on the fun bucktooth footman some more.
And it was Walt Disney who wanted all the cat and mouse stuff.
Oh gosh, Walt Disney, come on.
Well, he's a mouse guy. So. Okay, just because I talked about that blog post so much, it's on Tumblr, and the name was so funny.
I'm ready.
Okay, the name... This is funnier than it should be.
Do you need me to say it for you?
I just can't.
I need to come on the other side. What is that? The name is Professor Sparkle Pants. Thank you so much, Professor Sparkle Pants,
For your insight.
for your wonderful insight into this movie that we both love, and for rendering Kelly speechless.
Yeah. So what have you been watching recently, Kate?
So I haven't been watching a lot of animated things recently. I've been watching a lot of Great British Bake Off.
Yes. What season are you on?
It's season 4 on Netflix. Mm-hmm. But because I watched season 5 and then went back and so this is like
Your
the
last
season
one for you.
But I think it was like series 7 in the UK.
Yeah, the UK is way ahead of us.
Yeah. There's a few seasons that aren't on Netflix.
I've been watching an amazing animated show on Netflix. Everyone needs to go binge it right now. It's called Hilda. And it is so beautiful. Okay, so it's about this little girl named Hilda, and she lives with her mom out in the country, and then for multiple reasons, they end up having to move to the city. And it's basically her, like, you know, making new friends and, like, moving and all of that. And it's almost like, it's like a weird, fun combination of, like, Gravity Falls.
Okay.
And...
I'm intrigued.
And, like, cartoon saloon stuff, like Song of the Sea.
Okay.
Because it has that, like, mystery and mysterious creatures, like, that kind of feel of Gravity Falls, but it's in this much more quaint and beautiful, like, setting, kind of like anything from Cartoon Saloon. And the relationship with Hilda and her mother is the best, and so respectful of parents, because I know a lot of cartoons can be disrespectful of parents. But this is, like, the mother is smart and intelligent.
That's awesome.
And she, like, Hilda can't hide anything from her. She'll try, and her mom will be like, no, I know what you're doing.
Yeah.
Because that's what parents do. And so the mother will be like, totally normal, it's a troll. Like, yeah, you know, that's normal. Or, you know, like whatever other, an elf or like whatever magical creature. And she's just like, oh yeah, I expect this.
I love it. I do have to say, I feel like I need to trust your recommendations for things more, because you've introduced me to 2 of my very favorite series.
Oh, why thank you.
Which is Gravity Falls and Sherlock.
Oh, you're so welcome. Yeah, Gravity Falls is the bomb, and Sherlock ended too soon.
Oh, I know, right? It's because they're super famous now. It's
I
whatever. Because everyone loves that show.
It's fine. All right. Thanks for potting with me.
Potting?
Isn't that
Are we potting plants?
We're podcasting.
Podcasting. I love it. Thank you for having me. It was so fun talking about this.
Yeah. Everyone go watch Cinderella. Let us know what you think.
Oh, yeah. Yeah. I don't know where you can watch it.
Find a friend like Kate who owns all the Disney movies.
All the Disney movies, and then just borrow it.
Yeah. Those Disney fanatics are out there. Just gotta find one.
Yep.
Reel them in with some Mickey Mouse merchandise.
Yeah. Or Disney Princess merchandise.
Yeah. All right. Bye.
Bye.
Thanks so much for joining us. If you enjoyed today's episode, please leave us a rating and review, and let us know your thoughts on this film or any of your other favorite animated media on Facebook, Instagram, and Tumblr at Fanimated Podcast. You can also email us at fanimatedpodcast@gmail.com. The art for this podcast is done by me, Kelly Anderson. You can find me on Tumblr and Instagram at kelbell312. The music is provided by the folks at Purple Planet, and another huge thanks to Kate Callan for her unbridled enthusiasm for Disney films. You can follow Kate on Instagram at KECallan15. And if you are in the Twin Cities area, Kate is playing Freddie in Morris Park Players' production of My Fair Lady, October 26th through November 11th. Ticket info is at www.morrisparkplayers.org, and you can use the offer code KATE to get a discount on your ticket purchase. As always, thanks for the support, and we'll see you next week to discuss an animated film that has deeply impacted my life and continues to inspire me. So stay tuned and stay animated.